No doubt, life is hard, but it's particularly crushing when we are profoundly disappointed by a person who we thought was one way. We thought such great things about them. And as we got to know them better, we're almost shocked at the kind of person they actually turn out to be. It can be jarring to see this person suddenly do a complete 180. They're the total opposite of who you saw them as. Suddenly, the person you thought was so warm and kind was cold as ice. The guy you thought was so thoughtful was the rude jerk that ghosted you. The person you were forced to dump because they were treating you like crap, they were so sweet and kind in the beginning. The worst kind, that person that you felt so safe with, the person that you felt safe enough with to open up about your trauma. Maybe you have some abandonment wounds. Well, they turn around and they abandon you too. It's a complete violation of our senses when someone that we think we have all figured out turns around and they weren't that person at all. The worst part about people who disappoint you is you feel like an idiot. You feel like a fool. We feel like we've been bait and switched, but you're not a fool. Your red flag detector is broken. When you grow up in a toxic environment, surrounded by toxic people, then these people feel like home. You feel comfortable with them. Heck, you could go out on a couple of dates with someone and it feels like you've known them your entire life, and in a way you have. You've known that feeling of what it is to be with a toxic or an abusive person. Hi friends, my name is Maria, and for almost 20 years, I was disappointed and blindsided by people because I couldn't see all the red flags that were waving in my face. It was almost like I was drunk in a world full of drunks. Everyone seems like they're acting normal. You know, what's surprising is once you really begin to love yourself and learn the red flags and learn how to heal your attachment wounds, going back out into the dating world isn't like being drunk around a bunch of drunks anymore. It's more like you get invited to a party, you're 2 hours late, and when you show up, everyone there's already 3 sheets to the wind. It's a bizarre feeling, and suddenly you can spot the drunks or red flags all around you. It's almost shocking when somebody does something that in the past you would have been like, oh, that poor tortured soul, and now you're like, whoa, stay away, you equal pain. Most toxic people exhibit the exact same behavior patterns, and I'll go over a couple of them, but I will tell you, the one before the last one is an odd duck. I can't put my finger on it, but I'll tell you what I think about it, and you let me know if you agree. So if you're interested in fixing up your red flag detector, then grab a bottle of nail polish and let's talk. How about this one? Do they immediately try to change who you are? Do they pick on you for the way that you dress and try to get you to wear more dresses if you like to wear pants? Or here's a weird example. It's going to sound weird because I'm a bit of a health nut, but I always wondered about the kind of people who would go on 1 or 2 casual dates with someone and immediately insist that that person quit smoking. Now, I'm not condoning smoking. I used to be a smoker. I'm glad that I gave it up. But I'm talking about the energy behind the demand. I feel like it's completely outrageous to begin making demands on people we don't really know yet. Now, I'm not talking about someone that you've been with for 6 months or a year and they really care about you, so they ask you to quit smoking. I'm talking about someone who knew you were a smoker before they accepted the date with you, and then 1 or 2 dates in, they are demanding that you quit smoking because they don't want to date a smoker. Well, I guess they can go date somebody else. We have no right to enter someone's life and immediately begin making demands on them. Begin making demands that they change who they are. It's actually extremely codependent to make someone else a project. Some of the most toxic people I ever dated would tell me I needed to look a different way, maybe to look more like a celebrity that they had a crush on. I should do different things to my appearance to fit into their mold of what they were looking for. Like if they told me to dye my hair a certain color and I did it, not because I liked them, but because I had a lot of insecurities and I wanted them to like me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the other half, where we know attraction is not just about your looks. We also have to take care of the inner half. There's a big difference between changing yourself because you are inspired by someone that you love, or changing yourself to try to fit yourself in someone else's mold of perfection that's fake, that's simply for them because they need it. If you really want to get good at spotting toxic people for who they really are so you don't get involved with them, listen to how they speak about people they don't even know yet. One of the most embarrassing dating situations I've personally been in, I went to a hockey game with a girlfriend of mine. We were double dating and I was meeting her boyfriend for the first time. Let's call him Jason. Minutes before the hockey game, a big screen came on and a cute cheerleader was talking about upcoming games. Within seconds, Jason practically shouts so everyone around can hear. Huh, that girl, you know she's a bitch. And you gotta ask yourself, like, oh my gosh, why? Because she's pretty? Now, this is someone who had something very devastating happen to them in their past. Somewhere along the way, Jason got his heart bitterly broken by a pretty girl. And in his mind, all pretty girls are bitches. This is someone who is showing in his actions and in his words that he hates women. And you would think that this guy's clearly a butthead. I mean, you obviously don't act like this on dates. But on the other side of the coin, look at all the women who are out there on social media screaming into a public camera that all members of the opposite sex are assholes. Well, I've been around the block long enough to tell you that I've met a lot of men in my life. Some of them are assholes. A lot of them aren't. These toxic men and women are people who have not healed their trauma enough to be able to see the good people around them. You'd be amazed how much we don't see when we are trapped in a cycle of toxic relationships. My friend who went to that hockey game with Jason, she didn't even see that huge red flag. She didn't see his red flags throughout that whole relationship, even though he kept disrespecting her and dumping her until he finally left her for someone else. And she said she was completely blindsided. She couldn't see it. But I hope these videos are helping you, because we all struggle with mental health issues. And if you are interested in the subject of navigating the dating world with a healthier, happier mindset, overcoming trauma to improve your relationships, then please like, subscribe, share this video with someone who you know is struggling, because goodness knows, I wish I had known these red flags years ago. It is important to observe how people generalize others that they don't know, but it's also important to look at how do they treat people that they do know, especially the opposite gender parent. Listen very carefully to how they treat members of their family. I was friends with a guy once, and he seemed like a good enough friend. Sometimes we would hang out at his house. And one of the things I noticed is that whenever he interacted with his mom, everything she said got an eye roll out of him. Or, "Mom, that's so lame. Mom, that's so stupid." Well, me and my broken red flag detector decided he'd be perfect to date. Well, lo and behold, when I was his girlfriend, every little goal or accomplishment or great thing I told him about suddenly became lame and stupid. Nothing you ever do is good enough. So here's the weird one. I've always struggled with an anxious attachment, so in my dating life, I was more drawn to avoidant and unavailable people. Now, they had different levels of an avoidant attachment, but I noticed that the top three, the three most emotionally unavailable and avoidant people I ever dated, did chores while I was at their house on a date. And I don't mean, I was there all weekend long and Sunday morning rolls around and they got to start getting ready for their week and I'm probably overstaying my welcome anyway, because of the whole anxious attachment thing. I'm talking about they invite you over for what should be a romantic evening together where usually you order food, Netflix, chill, but when I get to their house all made up, they suddenly, it's so important that they fold their socks. It was always laundry. They always had to get the laundry done. I would be sitting all done up in their living room and they'd be across the room folding towels. Maybe it's nothing, but I gotta tell you, life is about patterns. People who are a certain way tend to all exhibit the same kind of behavioral patterns. And the best that I've personally come up with is they could not be present in the moment with me. Not only that, but they were showing me that no matter what, they were not stopping their life, their routine for anyone. And they never did, because when I became more and more invested and attached to the relationship and started pushing for something deeper, it was too intrusive. They left. Last but not least, if you want to avoid being disappointed by someone, really pay attention to your gut. Are they disappointing you? I know this sounds simplistic, but you would be amazed how many of us ignore that gnawing feeling in our gut just because we like someone and we want it to work out so much. Well, disappointing people are disappointing. It's a little phrase I came up with, and I would say it to myself every now and again to remind myself that people are on their best behavior in the beginning of relationships. So if they are disappointing me now, they will disappoint me in the future, probably in bigger and grander ways. People's personalities only get louder, but that's okay. You know what else gets louder? Those red flags that you never saw in people before, and now they are practically screaming in your face. Good, because you know what? It will turn a long-term crappy investment with someone who is never worth it into a quick inconvenience in your life that was simply short term. By Emily De Molly. My name is Maria Adriana. You did not have to live my life, but I certainly hope you can learn something from it. As always, thank you for visiting The Other Half.